Today's panel is all about brand partnerships and the future of sports and entertainment. And I'm really excited to have these esteemed panelists here. I'll introduce them very briefly. They've all done so many things. I would literally be up here talking all day, but I want us to spend more time talking about the content. So I have to my right, you have Derek D. Nice Jones. He's a renowned artist, DJ, and photographer. He's also credited with quite literally bringing the world together with Club Quarantine during the pandemic. I have Diana Flores, who is a star quarterback and World Games champion on Mexico's women's national flag football team. And I also have Kevin Liles, who is a legendary record executive. He's also the CEO of 300 Entertainment and an investor in Authentic Intelligence, which is it's an immersive music platform. And then finally, I have Rick Acampora, who is our global CEO at Assembly. And I will pass it over to you, Rick.
Great. Am I on? Yep. Thank you, Bria. I have to say, first of all, yes, thank you all for coming. But more importantly, thank you all. I'm not a starstruck kind of person, but talking to each of you before we came up here, it's unbelievable. And frankly, it makes me feel pretty bad about myself. So I'm trying to get over that through this conversation, if you will. But I think it would be great if each of you shared a little bit about you've had tremendous success, right? And the road to success has a lot of different twists and turns and challenges and changes and pivots, right? So I think it'd be great if each of you shared a little bit about yourself, your story, and how you got to where you are today. Let's start with Diana.
Okay, I'll take the challenge. Okay.
Do it.
The biggest challenge to me, I started playing at the age of 8 years old in Mexico City. I was born and raised there. Back then, the sport was not well known. It seemed to be a sport for boys. So since I was little, I got to understand and experience the power of no. No, this sport is not for you. No, you're a girl. No, you are too young. No, you are too small. No, 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 no. And many no's through my career. I have had to find the way to fight against the fact of being underestimated many, many times, only by the fact of being a woman in a men's world, which is a football world. So I could say that the biggest lessons sport and this journey has given me is to learn to embrace what other people think or see as weaknesses as my superpowers. And today, I think that's what makes me who I am on and off the field, and that's what allows me to make a bigger impact beyond the sport.
What's funny is he said, well, she plays. So I'm thinking it's music. What instrument? So I asked her what instrument. She said, no, it's flag football. I'm a player. I said, okay, I'm sorry.
It's interesting to hear your story. Thank you for sharing that, because I think all of us up here have know a lot as well in our industries. I started out 15 years old in a music group in the 80s. She laughed when I told her how old I was. It was like, just turned 54 yesterday. And
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you for the
cumpleaños, we say.
Yes. I still got it, right? But so I started at 15 years old when hip hop was pretty much in its infancy, early stages. My group was called Boogie Down Productions. And I was one of the founding members. I wasn't the best rapper in the group. I wasn't the best producer in the group. I was young. I was 15 years old. I was hungry. I grew up in the Bronx. And that was a way for me to get out of the hood. It was like I actually wanted to be an attorney. My daughter's an attorney now, but I wanted to be an attorney, but didn't have that kind of support system back then where I grew up, So music was my way out. We sold a bunch of records, 4 gold albums. And by the time I was 22 years old, I was considered old school. I was considered old, washed up. It's over. It's like, what do you mean? I'm 22. Like, what do you know? But because hip-hop was so young, no one knew what it was going to be other than Kevin Liles and his team. They actually knew what it was, But I, unfortunately, was not signed to Kevin Liles. We found, and I had to pivot. You talked about pivoting earlier, Rick. I had to pivot. I had to figure out what was next. And, I didn't know what to do when people stopped clapping for me. I had to figure it out. It took about 4 or 5 years, and I ended up getting into the creative services industry. I watched one of my best friends. He owned a small web development company, and, I felt like I was a pretty smart kid, and I bought books. And I taught myself how to code, and I was writing HTML, PHP, Flash, everything. I was doing it all, and I started this company, used a lot of freelancers. But the thing about it was, I picked up a lot of clients that I used to go and try to shop my demo to, like to say, hey, I still make music, like I want to do music. They didn't want to hear that. But the moment I went in and said, hey, I'm building websites, they felt like I would be able to give them exactly what they needed because I understood. So my company was super small, and we were like competing against, Razorfish at the time, who were like massive, and we were winning some of these deals.
To say that.
But, for me, it was like to be like this underdog and to hear no and to have to like reinvent myself, I did well. And that was like only part of my story. I could be here all day talking about this. But the other part was I was sitting in a meeting with Paul Fireman. I was doing online marketing for the Reebok shoe, one of their releases. And I walked into the conference room, and a gentleman there by the name of Todd Krinsky, who was a senior vice president of Reebok, he said hello to everyone, and then he stood in front of me, and he didn't say anything. And then everyone laughed. And I stood up. I was like, hey, I'm Derek Jones. And he said, no, you're D Nice. Like, I spent so much time trying to run away from D Nice. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I just wanted to be Derek Jones, the creator. But he said, you're D Nice. He said, I went to Boston U and I wrote my thesis on a song from your first album. And in that moment, I realized that the people that were listening to our music at the time, these people are now CEOs, and these people are now CFOs and senior vice presidents. So I decided that I wanted to throw after work mixers. The problem was I didn't want to pay a DJ $700. So this was like 2005, 2004. I was like, I'm not paying anyone $700. I love music. Plus, they're not going to play what I want to hear. I want to hear Bette Midler and Jay-Z. Like, I want to mix up everything. So instead of hiring someone, I started DJing myself, and I started doing like small parties, and the clients would come out, and next thing you know, it took me from doing that to where I was hired to do Super Bowl and to play the Oscars, after party, and I've done a lot. And obviously, Club Quarantine took it to an even higher level during the pandemic, which was and like I said, I could be here all day taking up your time. But this part is extremely important. And
That's what we're here for.
Okay, cool. This part is important because Club Quarantine it's truly how I felt about life, like it's always about helping people, like I'm able to do what I do because I'm friends with a Kevin Liles or other people in the industry that always believed in me, that didn't turn their backs, So when I started Club Quarantine, and I think why it resonated with people so much was because I was quarantined alone. I was at home alone. I wasn't in a relationship. My kid, she was in law school, and I was strictly home. I had moved to LA trying to figure out what was next. I thought I was going to get into film and television production. That was going to be the next phase. Little did I know that, sitting at home and starting to play music online on a platform where that part of the platform was actually, they were phasing that part out. And I just started playing music, and then someone from the team reached out to me and said, hey, you're doing something amazing. Like, this is interesting. My other buddy, Donnie Wahlberg, he called me and he said, you're not reading what people are saying. You're not reading the comments. Like, you're literally saving lives. And I wasn't. I was too busy, like, playing the music and feeling good. But none of that would have been possible without the friendships and also without being kind to people. Because that guy that I had met on Martha's Vineyard in the summer of 2019 that was just walking down Circuit Ave and just said, hey, I'm a fan. And we talked for 30 minutes. I never asked him what he did. We exchanged numbers. When the pandemic hit, that was the guy that called me 3 days into it. He was like, I didn't tell you that I worked at Instagram, and what you're doing is amazing. So my story is always about just being kind to people. And that's my story.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, I'm not going to take a long time, but I'm a kid from Baltimore, 16. Baltimore? Hey,
We have a big
go
Baltimore
people.
office.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And at 16, hip hop kind of like, I went from playing football to falling in love with hip hop. I remember the first time hearing Sucker MC, and I said, they look like me, they talk like me, they walk like me. Forget football. I mean nothing. Not about that. I'm gonna go and do this rap thing. So we started a rap group. I opened up for LL Cool J, Run DMC, Light, everybody, and I fell in love. I remember, 16 years old. I fell in love, and I wrote a record called "Girl, You Know It's True." It sold 100,000 copies. 2 years later, somebody stole it and sold 18 million copies. The group was Milli Vanilli. So at that moment, I said, I'm heartbroken. I'm like, how did this even happen to me? And what I realized, God had a bigger plan for me, because I could have been a successful artist, but he said, no, we want you to be Run DMC to Megan Thee Stallion, Jay-Z, DMX, LL, Bob, go down the list of artists that I've been blessed to be with. And I guess, my North Star, in every religion, I'm a spiritual guy, treat people how you want to be treated. There's a difference between right or wrong and good or bad. I don't care what you believe in, those are the things. And you'll get my authentic self every time that I talk. Sometimes they say I share too much or I give too much access, but it's why I can walk around without having 10 security people and this, because I think everybody love me and everybody gonna watch out for me, you know what I mean? So that's my story.
Amazing. I think the one thing that is or feels like a common thread is probably two things. The first is that, yes, each of you had challenges, but at those challenges, it seems like you found the path to yes. You figured out how to say why not rather than why I can't. And the other thing I'd say is impact. And whether you realized it in the moment or realized it after, you've had tremendous impact on people's lives. And that's something that, you should own and frankly, we're all grateful for, right? Music, sports, coaching, whatever that is, that actually impacts people's lives. Opening doors for other people is something that you just, that's a legacy. You can't undo it.
I think just to top that, I don't know about both of you. Well, I know a lot about you, but I don't know you that well. But I believe music is medicine. And I believe hip-hop saved my life. Could you imagine if we didn't create this culture, what these motherfuckers be doing here? Can you imagine? Because everybody want to hustle, everybody want to get money. Can you imagine? We took all the no's. No, we only going to play you on Friday night for 1 hour. And now it's, we're the station of hip hop and this.
It's the culture.
It's the whole culture. So I believe we were the first viral moments. I believe, back then, they talk about writing on your Facebook walls. We were doing graffiti. Back in the day, we were handing out flyers. You call it Instagram or whatever you do right on tweet. We were doing that back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I think impact, for me to sit here and say it was a plan and it was something I knew was going to happen. I knew I was going to be the president of Def Jam at 30 years old. I knew I was going to take a company private and public or build another company called 300 and so I didn't know none of that shit. What I knew was I'm going to be of service to my culture. And by being of service, everything is possible. And so that's what made, to me. And so you got a similar story to me. But
Just adding to that, I think that one of the biggest blessings that can happen to any one of us is the moment you realize that whatever you're doing, music, sport, business, that whatever you do have a bigger impact than yourself, than your life. Finding that purpose, finding the why. It may not be evident at the beginning, but as you keep going through every challenge, you start to realize that we're part of a bigger movement of change. And I think the moment you realize that, you put everything you do on service, as you said, service for advocating for a passion you have, for advocating for the ones that cannot be seen or heard or cannot have the platform you have in the area you do, like decision makers, athletes, musicians. So I feel, the moment we realize that, make everything easier, helps you to connect with people with the same values, the same purpose, and just make this bigger change.
Did you want to add to that?
I mean, I would love to add to that. In my, just speaking from my perspective, like Kev said, I've had so many changes in my life, and I've been a part of different industries and, always contributed and always wanted to just do something that impacted people. In the beginning of the quarantine, listen, there was no one on social media that people were paying more attention to than what I was doing. Like artists, everyone was in there, from Drake to The Rock to J-Lo to Michelle Obama and it was because I had, early in the beginning of those days, like people were calling me by day 2. I got to tell you this story because this is really important when it comes to like deciding on who you end up partnering with. And I will say names and no disrespect to any company. The very first day when I went live for the love, like to play music and to share stories. But by day 2, I received an offer from Wingstop. It's like, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars to, for us to deliver some wings to you. And at first I was like, all right, you know what? I'm sitting at home. You want to pay me $50,000 to send me some wings? All right, cool, let's do it. And here's where they made the mistake. They also sent me a Wingstop t-shirt and asked me to wear it. Now, I don't know if you all can tell. I don't know, but I'm black. I cannot be on Instagram with 100,000 people looking at me eating chicken wings wearing a Wingstop shirt. I couldn't do it. And in that moment, I decided that this wasn't my purpose. My purpose wasn't to be in front of people making any money. Like other offers were coming and I was turning everything down. People were opening their portfolios, like just for me to be a part of it, to hold a bottle up. And I didn't want to do that because what I thought was people aren't listening to me for that reason. I shouldn't sell you anything. What I should be presenting to you is just a safe space, a place for you to just free your mind because the world has stopped. So I took no money from anyone, and that was the best decision I ever made because it became more of a cultural thing, and it wasn't like me just trying to sell anything. It was like I want to be with D Nice because it was about the community. The music was secondary. What I was playing really didn't matter. I just played music that I thought was safe, that I thought was good. I listen to trap music and I listen to EDM, but in the time when you're sitting at home with your family, that wasn't the music that was going to resonate when sitting in front of everyone. So I was able to play, the Bee Gees and Jay-Z because Jay was safe, like I was able to play music that just felt good, that resonated with your spirit. And because of that, I am now able to walk out in the world. Like Kev said, I can walk around anywhere and I'm comfortable and people stop me and they show love. And when they see me doing these other deals, they're not mad at it. They're like, they felt like they were a part of the success, that they were a part of it and they watched it happen and they all uplift me. And I'm glad that I made that decision early on to just say, no, keep it from the heart and do what feels good.
We would have tore your ass up if you put that chicken shirt on.
Yeah, Kenny, we would have torn him out the frame.
Trust me.
Wingstop.
Make some noise, everyone.
But let's stay with that for a minute. I wasn't planning to get into the brand side of this this quickly, but you mentioned partners and people offering to open up the portfolio and offering different deals. You all are a brand, each of you a different brand unto yourself. And how do you look at sort of curating that brand and picking partners? Because we've got marketers here and there's tons of marketers here, and you can help them, right? You can help them be better partners and them to make better decisions, but also keep your own authenticity and have a greater impact. So how do you each of you sort of look at that? And maybe start with you, Diana.
For me, it has been very important to really connect with the brands and with my partners regarding like my vision, my dreams, and also their values, and also how they embrace my own dreams and vision, to really feel that they care about me more than my results or the medals or anything. They care about the person I am, because I really like when people see that athletes, we are more than players, right? Sport is more than a game. We are persons. We have dreams. We have this desire of just to be better on and off the field. So right now, I feel so happy and grateful to be able to become the first flag football player sponsored by a major sports brand, Under Armour. And the reason I chose to work with them is because they embrace my dream of giving back to the next generations of boys and girls. It was not, as you mentioned, it was not a deal of just giving me clothes or putting me on a big, screen. It was more than that. We are about to launch our first flag football camp in Mexico City, first time ever. Thank you. And we're working together to reply that in the United States, in Mexico, and hopefully other countries. So the mission is bigger than me just being a sponsor athlete, right? It is to give back to the community. So that's something I feel it is really special when you get to connect with the brands in that way.
For me, when I decide to work with any brand, like she said earlier, it always starts with passion first and community. It has to be community driven for me. Maybe not for the same reasons that she decided to, but for me as a now 54-year-old man, we all have to admit that ageism exists in our business, especially when you're an artist or an athlete. The older you get, people tend to want to push you aside. So I've been fighting not just old school hip hop history, like people used to just look at me as a rapper, and I'm like, no, I'm more than that. I have to do more. I have to be more, because I was considered old school at such a young age. As I've gotten older, I was also the oldest person in the clubs DJing, but no one knew my age. I don't look 54, do I?
You do not. And I'm pretty angry at you.
He said I'm pretty angry. But what I've learned on this journey, man, is authenticity is everything to me. Like, I only want to be a part of things that actually resonate deeply with me, and also things that are going to inspire that young guy, that young version of me from the Bronx. Like, I'm a BX guy, and we didn't have many growing up then in the Bronx. The Bronx was burning in the 70s and early 80s. Even though it's the birthplace of hip hop, there was a lot going on in the Bronx. So for you to make it out of that, and to do something that is so impactful via music, and then via social media, and back via music again, it's just great. So when I take on partners, they have to understand that it's not just about your brand either. It's also about what are we doing. So I've done a lot of work with Chase. What I loved about Chase was when they offered me to sponsor one of my big concerts. It was the 3rd anniversary of Club Quarantine. I'd already sold out Carnegie Hall, and like now, I wanted to do the 3rd anniversary at the Apollo Theater. I wanted to take it back to where I grew up. And Chase came on, and they were like, we want to sponsor this. But where they got me was when I said to them, I don't want to just have you as a sponsor of a party or of a concert. I need you to get involved in the community. Like, we need to open up the Apollo doors during the daytime to create a financial literacy program and a conversation to have with people that should be free for them to just come in. Because my community, with this Club Quarantine community, they travel all over the world, wherever I am, wherever I'm playing. And I feel like it's always important to be in a position to give back to people, not just to take from them. And they immediately said yes, and we had such a beautiful event. And that's all I do now. Every time I do a show, when I'm in the States, it always has to be something that's driven by community and giving back.
I think just to add on it's greater good, greater God. Everything is about that. And when I talk to a CEO, I probably end up playing golf with him. So for 4 hours, I know what kind of shit if he get upset, if he can hit, knock it, what's life going in life. But I don't partner with everybody that comes to me. Because I remember when instead of them allowing us to be partners, we went and made our own clothes. We made our own shoes. We made our own culture because they told us no. Now, when I got a little older, and I remember when Run DMC said, my Adidas, and we struck that deal, I said, it's just about to really happen right now. But still, we got to be authentic. And so everybody talks about artificial intelligence. And so I was sitting with Brooke, and I said, I don't want to be artificial. I want to be authentic intelligence. I want all the data. I want everything everybody could do, but I want to be authentic. And if a brand is not authentic, and you know when a brand is not authentic, when a brand is not authentic, I can't do business with them. But it's all about service if they want to serve the community.
I love that. Authentic intelligence. Might steal that.
Easy, baby. It's trademark. But
Yeah.
But that's not happening to me again, guys. No.
I also think you just invited me to play golf in a weird way, so I'm good with that too.
Gotcha, baby.
But let's stay with authenticity for a moment. D-Nice, you and I were talking earlier, and you told me, frankly, a very touching but authentic story. Do you want to share a little more?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Bronx, 5th floor tenement apartment, sleeping across from my great-grandmother, and it was my cousin's apartment. She was 21 years old. She had a baby, very small place. So for me, I always wanted to find like success in music. I used to just go into the bathroom and write songs. I thought I was gonna be a songwriter, writing songs for New Edition. Like that was like my whole goal. I never imagined going into hip hop. I thought I was gonna be the songwriter. But anyway, ended up doing hip hop and producing a lot of records from. By the time I was like 18, a record that I produced had gone gold. It was my first gold single song. I mean, Kevin knows it. It's called Self Destruction, and this song was done because there was so much violence going on, and especially at hip hop concerts. I was 18 when I produced this record. Sold 750,000 copies. Kev put his artist on it. Like, it was just beautiful. And this was back then, 1988. And my uncle bought me my first suit. I remember this. We went to Botticelli. He like really spent money on shoes. We went to Ferragamo. They were hurting my feet. I had never worn hard bottoms. I was a sneaker guy. Got my first tie, and then he poured me a glass of cognac. It was my first drink, and I grew up drinking, when that was the legal drinking age was 18. Let's put that out there right now. I grew up drinking, wine coolers. That's what we were drinking in the hood, He poured me my first glass of cognac. It's great. 20 years later, I became an ambassador for cognac. And I did that for 2.5 years and then kind of aged out of it. They felt like, I'd gotten a little older. They wanted to skew a little younger. And that was great. But I couldn't get another brand deal with another sponsor because I'd been so closely tied to that particular brand, to that particular cognac. And here we are now in 2024. I'm an owner of a cognac, called Martingale. And it's like full circle for me. It was the first drink that I had. It was something that always reminds me of family, always remind me of that first moment of celebrating. And, when I felt like I was aged out or pushed out of being an ambassador, to go from an ambassador to an owner is the dream. It's not just the American dream, but it is the Black American dream. Like we wanted to be part of culture and be part of ownership because we were creating so much from those days. And it's great now to be an owner.
Diana, you shared with me, and you said earlier that you were, and by the way, that's an amazing story. I get chills when I hear that story. Too nice. But you shared with me this aspect of being underestimated. And it's crazy to me, to be dead honest, because yes, when you look at you and on the surface or passing by, you're not 6 foot something and you're not 200 pounds. But if you watch you play, you are a tiger, first of all, but second of all, you're beyond physical. Like, it immediately comes off of the page if you watch you play. I'm like, powerful. That's the word that comes to mind when I watch you play. So for anybody underestimating, they've made a big mistake. But talk to me a little bit about how you got through being underestimated and who maybe helped you along the way to get past that.
For sure, my family, they have supported me since the very first time. They have believed in me since the very first time, my dad, my mom, and my siblings. Even if we couldn't see at that moment a future in sport, flag football, again, was not a big thing. So I think I owe a lot to them because they believed on something we couldn't see at that moment. And then, of course, like amazing people through my journey, like my first coach, who empowered me and my teammates to always look, and I think you mentioned it before, to always look for how make things happen instead of all the obstacles in front of us. Yes, for me, I was little, I was young. I should mention this, when I started playing flag, I was 8 years old, but I started playing with girls that were 16 or 17 years old, because we didn't have youth leagues or categories. So I had to like fight against that and trying to find my own path through sport. Later on, I had to play with boys in an all boys league in Mexico and then in the States again, because we didn't have girls teams. So just like embracing the fact of being the one and only, and embracing all those things that other people were like pointing at me as limitations, as my superpowers, and to transform them into a way that were authentic to me to make a change. That's what I think right now truly like makes me be who I am on and off the field. And I learned that through that power of just believing in yourself and truly embracing who you are, you can transform even the way other people conceive or see sports, art, whatever. For me, it was like that. You know, I play quarterback. We talk about this in football. There's like a stereotype, you know, like quarterbacks are tall, they are strong, and they only like throw from the pocket, right? The opposite. Right. So I had to find my way to play the game and my way to enjoy the sport that I loved so much. And I turned it to be like a dynamic sport. I am fast on the field. I am agile. I am dynamic. I am creative. And somehow now the game has changed like 180 degrees. It is a different thing, and it has been because of not only me but the authenticism of many other players. So to see the impact of how authenticism and embracing our strengths and what makes us different can make, it has been life-changing.
I think, like, this, in all honesty, my mom and dad had me. They were 17. I grew up, my grandmother, and I used to call my grandmother and grandfather mom and dad, and I called my mom and dad Alberta and Jerome. I grew up with a rusted spoon in my mouth, and I know at 16 in Baltimore, you're supposed to be dead, on drugs, or in jail as a black man. So when I got to 16, I said, oh shit. It might be possible. When I graduated, got a scholarship to NASCAR at Morgan State for NASCAR engineering. Oh, I'm in college now. All these things, and he kept saying more and more. And what I realized is, and I tell every artist this, I'm not going to chase you. I'm going to say, I don't want a contractual relationship with you. I want an emotional relationship with you, because this is somebody's daughter. That's somebody's son. Somebody's father, and they're human beings. They literally people, and we sometimes forget the pain and the struggle that they go through. And so I told Dee the story. I believe our biblical times were the pandemic. God says, sit your ass down, you sit with your, get to know your mother, get to know your father, get to know yourself. So in that period of time, Club Quarantine was created. I'm not sure what you were doing at the time. I know what happened to me. Going through the divorce, no, but it opened up my eyes to what was really happening around me. You know how sometimes you can work so much that you're not even paying attention?
Yep.
You're just working so hard and not paying attention. And I realized my daughter's favorite colors. And I started to realize that my son finally wanted to be in the music business. I started to realize that my daughter only wanted to play 4 years of basketball for Elon, and she wanted to play for the NBA, WNBA. And so I started to become more present. And I believe during that period of time, some of the greatest songs are going to be written, were written. I think you're hearing them through country music right now. And so country's going to come back in a big way. Morgan Wallen, Bailey Zimmerman is one of my artists. And then it's going to be R&B because people want to hear stories. People don't just listen to stream music anymore. They want to feel music. That's what we was at Club Quarantine. Was it last night? I don't even remember.
Last night.
Yeah. If you were in there, shirts were off.
People spiritual, man.
It was people singing.
I mean, it was just a very special time because I believe that, you know, if you think about biblical times, who was Job? Who was Jonah? Who name, go down the list. I think there's going to be a book of D. I think it's a book of X and a book of LL and a book of J and a book of, I think we really sitting amongst, with the creative community and sports, you're sitting amongst real disciples. You might not want to accept that, but anybody that can impact somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had good ones, bad ones, but they made up what was good. And I believe that you can't sit here and not applaud the athlete or the DJ or the artist without knowing that they're a human being and what they go through. So it's very special times. I hope everybody learn even more and push themselves, elevate to a different level.
Well, I think the one of the things that you each have talked about, but in a different way, is that yes, you've had success, but that's almost like the last thing of it.
Yeah.
Right. And the reality is you're growing industries and sports that didn't even exist before, and you're impacting other people's lives. And that's ultimately your greatest success. And that's pretty amazing. And I would honestly just say, like, let's actually applaud that. And thank you. Amazing stories, amazing people. And I like to sort of end things sometimes with just a wish. So one wish that you have, each of you have, and that could be for the greater world, the industry, your children, whatever that might be, but one wish to share with all of us that you hope comes true real soon.
Man, I was over here trying to think of something prolific to say, like I want to, but really to the core of me, I wish that that I'm in a position to always do something that impacts people in a positive way. That's my goal. You know, I want to always be able to take care of my family, but I really wish that, you know, what I'm doing matters to people with every decision that I make in terms of business. And yeah, that would be my one wish.
Good wish.
Mine could be that dreams are never dismissed by gender, nationality, or any other aspect in life. I truly believe that greatness starts in the mind, by believing that you deserve, by believing that you can achieve great things, by believing that you deserve to be the spotlight, that you deserve to be in that platform. So I wish for the day that we all encourage each other and uplift each other's dreams.
Hey, I got something prolific.
Thought you might.
No, I thought about this, man, and I sit. 3 weeks ago, I buried my favorite cousin's father. He was 80 years old. I'm 56. 24 years. My dad died at 73. I'm 56. My wish is that you start to respect your time. My wish is that you really sit and say, I love you, even though if you don't have to say it. Hold that hand, take that extra moment to make somebody feel you and not just be in the room with you, because you can't buy more of it. You just can't. It's nothing you can't. And you can buy a lot of things, but you can't buy time. So my wish is that for everyone, even to leave here today, respect your time just a little bit more and be a better person, because we all can be.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, Rick, we can't leave without hearing what your wish would be.
My wish?
Yes.
Got him.
No. For me, the only thing, and then you said it, right? Like, it's a weird thing to say. I would never trade COVID for the world. For the world. It did all those things that you said for me and my family. And I've been running around the globe and doing all this stuff and working. I've got a mouse pad for my daughter and my wife saying, we love you, now get back to work. And that's incredibly freeing to go do all the things that I've done and had the good fortune to do and support, and all these people who support me. But COVID let me go, wait a minute, that's not the stuff I care about. It's not at all. And having dinner with my family, or actually being like even on a ski lift with my son, and he opens up to me and tells me that this is the first time he doesn't want to play soccer anymore because he doesn't like it anymore, right? And that's a massive thing, but being there for those conversations. So the only thing, the thing that's most important to me is my 2 kids, 4 dogs, no, but my 2 kids, my family, and being there for them. And like you say, being really present. I might not be there all the time, but when I am, I'm there. And then I am genuinely invested in the team that I'm lucky enough to work with at Assembly and the clients we work with. But part of that is caring and wanting them to all succeed. I think the word you would hear from folks about me is coach. And that's all I want to do is coach. So that's my wish.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. All right. There's some more drinks and stuff back there. I want to thank all 3 of you again. Amazing. And it's been, I can't even describe the privilege it's been for me to get to know you a little bit and be up here with you. So thank you.